Good afternoon, Tazzy. With you here on Taz's Workbench. I'm your host Taz, and this channel is all about projects that I do. I make knives and I make boxes, and who knows what I'll make in the future. Anyway, this is the revealing of the box for Lower Blade. It's not finished yet. It still needs to be waxed and buffed. And you have to do that like 48 hours plus after you oil it. So the box has been oiled. It's got 2 coats of oil on it. It's been sanded to 600 grit, and I've put the hinges on, the Japanese nails, and basically it's ready to go. So without further ado, I will pull this off gently because I don't want to catch the hinges and tear it off. And so this is the box. You've got some, let's see if I can focus that a little bit more and throw some better light onto this subject so that it's not quite so horrible. Let's just move a few things around. And while I'm doing that, you can look at the front of the box and imagine some elevator music. Or not. And I'll just chuck a light in here. There we go. That's a much better color. And of course, the Thor goes there. So, as you can see, it's got a basic catch at the front. And you can see inside the box, it's all leather. And the bottom of the box, and the suede's a bit dusty, so I'll give it a brush before I send it off. And you can see on the front there are the Japanese nails, and that's that part of the box finished. That's still got to be coated and waxed and buffed and everything. So we'll just I'll move Thor out of the way there, and I'll just give you a look at some of the coloration and the grain here. You can see there's a couple layers of grain in here, so in the right light it actually it's fiddle back. And there's a dusty thumbprint. And you can see all the grain in there. Actually, I might just chuck on the big lights. So you just sit there and stare at the back of that for a second. And I'll just, there we go, chuck on some lights. And so these are the hinges that I use. I fit them on the outside. They're meant to be fitted on the outside. I can no longer get these hinges. So this box and the next box, that's it as far as these hinges go. And they're all nails now and not screws. They changed that as well. Except for this one, which is screws. What I usually do is I usually strip all the varnish off of these hinges and then buff the shit out of them, which is fine. But then the problem is that they will start to oxidize, and eventually you'll end up polishing brass on wood, and yeah, it doesn't quite turn out as well as I like. But there you go, Laura. There is your box. Now, this is the tray, and I've just put the first coat of oil on this, and as you can see, there's a lot of grain in there. And this is polished to, this is sanded to 400, and you can see you can't see it in this light, but there's some fiddle back in here that you can see there. And so that's the tray, and it just fits inside. Like that. And when you want to get it out, you just stick your thumbs in there like that, up against the side on both sides, and just lift it out. After the amount of time it took to actually color match all this timber and to make the bottom for this, which this was all done by hand. So, and there's Japanese nails in there. There's 8 Japanese nails attaching the bottom to the rest of it. And there's a little bit of a chip right here that I just can't get out. And you know what? I'm just going to leave it because it's only cosmetic. It doesn't actually do anything. But after the amount of time it took to actually make this by hand, this whole plate here, cut it out of a much larger piece of timber and reducing it in thickness with a hand plane. I decided that I'm not going to line this tray with leather and put tabs in it because I really want the timber to speak for itself. There is an enormous amount of work involved in just this tray alone is an enormous amount of work. You'd be surprised. So I'm not going to adulterate it by covering it and laminating leather on it and put tabs in. It just doesn't seem right to me. So, and there's a little bit of a gap all the way around the box, the lid, so it can lift in and out easily enough. The problem, obviously, with building a tray that matches the inside dimensions perfectly is that you create essentially a piston, and it actually becomes quite difficult to pull in and out. So there's a little bit of a gap all the way around, and as long as you're not like slamming it in there or pulling it out really roughly or anything like that, you're not going to scratch up the insides of the box, so it should be fine. Alright, well, thank you for joining me here on Taz's Workbench. I'm glad you all came and had a look with me. This needs a second coat of oil this time tomorrow, and then a wax and a buff. This was oiled and finished before this was, so this will get a wax and a buff before this does. And then we're going to look at packaging it all up and sending it off. I've got to send off a couple of knives today, and then another knife, and then this will get sent off after that. And yeah. Alright guys, thanks very much for listening to my rambling crap once again. And I hope you're all having a good day, and as always, rate, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Alright, bye!